Hello everyone, this is Genius Yoshi, and today we are playing the Princesses archetype. Now this is a really cool archetype that seems to be pushed heavily in the first chapter with a large amount of princess characters, and a few characters that benefit specifically other princess characters. In terms of inks, we're going to be playing Amber and Amethyst because they're the inks with the most princesses, with the most support for the archetype. So let's get that deck list started and see where it goes from there. The core card of the deck is going to be Moana of Motunui, a 1/6 quest for 3, and whenever she quests, you may ready your other princess characters, but they cannot quest for the rest of the turn, which means that your princesses get to fight after they've quested. Alright, well let's look at other good princesses, or other princess type synergies. In terms of princesses, we have Ariel, who's a collector, but she's really supporting items, and items is going to be a different archetype. So I've really just picked on the wrong Ariel. The one that I'm looking for is over here. Ariel, Spectacular Singer. This Ariel is a 2/3 princess, quest for 1, and whenever you get to play her, you look for a song and you get to put it in your hand. Now I really like this card because it essentially gives you card advantage as a 3-drop with decent stats. That's also a princess. So we're going to be playing 4 copies of Ariel. She's a singer, and we also have another princess that's quite decent, and that's a singer, and that is Cinderella. So Cinderella, 2/5 for 4, quest for 2, singer 5, and she can also exert herself to heal another princess character, going well with our princess archetype. Then we need to add some songs. So in these inks, some of the good songs, One Jump Ahead allows us to ramp and is a pretty decent song. Basically pay 2, add 1 ink to your ink pool, and it allows you on turn 2 to just ink a card, play 1 jump ahead, get to 3, or on turn 3 to just have another creature to sing it, in which case you get 1 ink in the ink pool for essentially free or just faster. Let It Go is probably the strongest song that we have available. Good removal. I want to play that in almost every Sapphire deck in general. And I'd like to have a 3rd song just to have enough to know that Ariel is very likely to hit. She's not guaranteed by any stretch, but is likely to hit. And that song, if I can find it, is over here. Be Our Guest. Be Our Guest allows us to look at the top 4 cards of our deck, put a character into our hand. Hopefully the princess we're looking for, or the great supporting character. And then we take a look at the other good princesses. In terms of good princesses, I really like Jasmine, Queen of Agrabah. 2/5, quest for 2, heals all your characters for 2 whenever she enters the battlefield and whenever she quests. And this synergizes really well with Moana, because you get to quest with Jasmine and then heal your army of princesses, and then your princesses get to challenge again. So they all quest, they all heal, and then they go back to the front lines and take down our opponent's villains or heroes, depending on what they're playing. It's not all about lore, although it is about questing. We also have Aurora, Dreaming Guardian, 3/5, shifts 3. It gives your other characters ward and quest for 2. Quite decent, fairly powerful. Ward is good when it's applied to your entire board, especially noting that when you get 2 Dreaming Guardians in play, your entire board has ward, which means they can't be targeted by any of these pesky removal abilities. And then it's time to take a step back. So we've added some strong princesses. We have a 1/6, a 2/5, a 3/5, a 2/5, a 2/3. Seeing a trend? The princesses have high toughness, and some of them have healing capabilities with Cinderella and Jasmine. So princesses are high questing characters with a lot of willpower. And the healing is actually quite decent in a deck like that, especially with Moana's ability that allows your characters to quest for a lot and then attack, especially with the healing of Jasmine or Cinderella. So we have some good synergy so far. But another thing to notice is 5 drop, 5 drop, 5 drop, 5 drop, 4, 3, 2, 2. And we have two drop songs, so I'd like to be able to sing those, which means that I'm looking for 2 drop characters. Well, there's Grammatala, that's a 2 drop character, one of my favorite cards to play early on, but we're going to be skipping her this time because we're already playing 1 jump ahead as our 2 drop ramp spell. And we have a nice princess here, Aurora Regal Princess, 2/2 quest for 2, an aggressive quester, and we get to potentially shift the big Aurora on top of this one. So it's a nice 2 drop. And in order to apply some pressure to our opponent, I'm going to go with the Simba package. I'm going to play 4 copies of Simba and 4 copies of Lilo. Simply because that package of 2 cards is very, very strong. It allows you to control the tempo of the game and forces the opponent to respond to it. And since we are playing Amber, we should probably include the combo. Also, Simba synergizes pretty well with all of these songs that we have, because you get to sing the song with Simba, and then he's exerted, so he's doing his bodyguard duty anyways, which is pretty nice. So we have our princess, we have our bodyguard. Lilo's just strong card that we kind of need to include to add the extra bit of pressure. Goes well with our questing fast game plan. Then looking back, our early game is pretty decent. I'd like to have another 3 drop along Ariel to kind of ease myself into these 4 or 5 drops. And I'm not overly satisfied with the 3 drop princesses. So again, I'm going to go after just a good card. And that's going to be Mickey Mouse Detective. Then in the 4 drops, there's Belle. That's actually a pretty nice princess. But we're already playing Cinderella. And we're already playing... Actually, we're not already playing, but I've missed the most awesome princess, probably. Rapunzel. Gifted with healing. Gifted with card draw is what she is. Again, going with the healing mechanics of the deck, high toughness characters, more likely to get healed, more likely to draw us some cards. Extremely powerful inclusion. So, we now have 2 drops. 2 4 drops. We have Cinderella and we have Rapunzel. And looking at Belle, Belle is a very strong card if you're planning on ramping up all the way to 10. But that's not really what we're doing here. We're trying to ramp up a bit, maybe to 6, 7, and then just finish off our opponent with an army of questing princesses. So Belle doesn't really fit with that game plan super well. There's an argument for playing her over Cinderella, quite arguably. But we want to be playing Princess's Tribal, and that healing ability, combined with the higher willpower and the singer ability, fits better with the overall theme of our deck. But I don't blame you for playing a handful of copies of Belle if you want. And then we need a few more cards to wrap up our deck. I'm quite happy with the curve. We have 4 copies of removal with Let It Go, but I'd like to have a bit more removal. So we're going to be including some copies of Hades. So we're going to be including 3 copies of Hades. We already have the ramp. We have 1 jump ahead, and we have the Mickey Mouse. And Hades is just a very strong card that I want to include. We'll also be playing, let's go with 3 copies of Stitch, Carefree Surfer, because Stitch is another good late game option. He can be inked early, and we're playing a lot of characters and a lot of high willpower characters that we're expecting are going to stick on the board, so it gives us another good draw card. So now we have Stitch to draw, we have Rapunzel to draw, and we have Mickey Mouse to just generate extra card advantage by playing ink off the top of our deck. And to wrap up the list, let's play a couple of Develop Your Brain. They're essentially free cards. You can pay one, get a bit of card selection, you can ink them. We'll probably be inking them most of the time. And there we have it. That's our list. To Develop Your Brain, Lilo into Simba, aggressive. We're playing some Aurora Regal Princess to shift into the big Aurora, Dreaming Guardian. We're playing Be Our Guest, One Jump Ahead, and Let It Go as our songs, in order to support Ariel's Spectacular Singer, another source of card advantage. So we have a solid curve, lots of 2-questers, good removal, ramp, high toughness, healing, and card advantage. With Ariel, Rapunzel, and Stitch, we just keep the engine going, keep the cards flowing, and try to avoid board wipes. If our opponent board wipes us, well, we still have characters to play, and we have a fast clock. And there we have it. Continuing Mickey Mouse's bunch of 4 and 5 drop princesses, some Hades and Stitch to wrap up the list, and that's princesses perfected. And let's dive into the gameplay footage. Let's see what we get here. We get an Aurora, One Jump Ahead, Mother Aurora, Simba, Moana, Be Our Guest, Let It Go. Actually, that's a really good set of cards. I would like to have a play on turn 3, though. I guess I could shift the big Aurora, and then I can sing with her. So I can go turn 2 Aurora, turn 3 big Aurora, sing, One Jump Ahead, and turn 4 Moana. That's interesting. Let's try that line. So since we're going to be playing turn 2 Aurora, well, we'll ink Be Our Guest. Pass the turn to our opponent. It's a bit of a problem with the Regal Princess. If I sing with her on turn 2, then she gets quite vulnerable. We find an Ariel Spectacular Singer. First, we're going to be playing Aurora Regal Princess and passing the turn to our opponent. Aurora Regal Princess being just a vanilla 2/2. Our opponent is playing a Garamatala. I really like that card. Just whenever the character is banished, we put it into the inkwell. Now it's our turn. So we want to shift the Regal Princess here. So we're going to ink our Simba. Today we're not playing the super aggressive line, or at least not right now. Shift her on top. And then we sing. And pass a turn. This is going to enable us to have a turn 3 Aurora, turn 4 Moana, which seems quite imposing. So now we have Aurora Dreaming Guardian in play, giving all our characters ward, which right now is no other characters. If we can land a second Aurora, then it just means that all our characters have ward, which is pretty amazing. And we draw Rapunzel. Very good princess to draw here. Let's keep our Let It Go. Both of these are potential card draw. But I feel like I should ink the Ariel anyways, to have the super strong Moana play here. Opponent doesn't have any good combat, so we quest. Questing for 2. And we're sitting with Moana of Motunui. 1/6, quest for 3. one of the heavier questers for 5. And whenever she quests, we may ready another princess. Well, all our other princesses, if we want to. But they can't quest for the rest of the turn. Then that allows us to quest and then challenge. Trying to get that lore count up. Opponent's playing a magic mirror. Bit of a slower play here. Just ramp, magic mirror. Our opponent being in sapphire and amethyst colors doesn't have access to board wipes. There's Let It Go's, Hades, just targeted removal, but I don't think there's any better removal than that. Short of creature combat. Opponent quests with Mickey Mouse, quest with Grammatala. And we find ourselves with a Mickey Mouse. And now things are interesting. So first off, we quest with Aurora. Then we want to quest with Moana to get our Aurora Dreaming Guardian back to combat. Now we can't quest with it again. We can challenge Mickey Mouse. Deal a bit of damage. So 1 point of damage enough, or are we greedy? I think that's sufficient to play Rapunzel. So I'll play Rapunzel. Heal for 1, draw 1. And we find Jasmine, Queen of Agrabah. Rapunzel's one of my favorite legendaries. Heal and draw is just so powerful. And we'll pass the turn to our opponent. Ramping is great, but can the opponent come back from this pretty powerful ward presence that we have? With Aurora giving ward protection to our Moana and Rapunzel, our opponent doesn't have any great attackers to go and challenge our Moana. Oh, Robin Hood. Robin Hood, 4/4. Maybe draw a card, but it's 3/3 in hand, so our opponent will not draw anything. There's Robin. If we had more cards, our opponent would draw, and it can challenge through evasiveness. That's not too much of a big deal. And now we have the very beautiful quest with Aurora, quest with Rapunzel, quest with Moana, ready both our princesses. Challenge Mickey. I don't think I want to challenge Grammatala, to be honest. I was thinking about challenging Grammatala and then just healing with Jasmine. But now I do want to do that, because otherwise I'm leaving myself vulnerable to Robin taking down Aurora. So we are going to give our opponent the ink so that the opponent doesn't have any challenge with stuff on board to take out any of our princesses. We just out-heal our opponent. Jasmine, Queen of Agrabah. Pretty solid 5-drop. Just heals all our characters for 2 whenever she quests or whenever she enters the battlefield. Double Rafiki. Alright, well, our opponent doesn't want us to win next turn. That's for sure. But our opponent is out of cards now. Rafiki, being a 3/3 rush, takes down our Moana. And we have... Actually, we quest for 6 and win the game. Quest for 2, 4, 6. And princesses take the game. With style and a very aggressive line. That was a really cool game. Let's go again with our singing princesses. This time we have Lilo, Ariel, Jasmine, Cinderella, Develop Your Brain. Well, let's try to go Lilo into Simba this time. A classic curve. The rest we can send back. Maybe keeping Cinderella. No. Send everything back. Keep the Ariel for the early curve. And aim for a Simba. Do we find it? No, but we find a 2-drop Aurora. Alright, so you have 1, 2, 3. Don't really have a good turn 4. So we're going to ink our Jasmine here. And go for turn 1 Lilo on the play. One of the most feared play in all of Lorcana is the turn 1 Lilo into the turn 2 Simba. Just making a wish, wishing for lots of lore is what Lilo's doing. Opponent is playing Steel. Inks a Beast and passes the turn. Here we want to play our Aurora. I think you're going to ink the second Ariel. Play the Aurora. Quest with Lilo and pass the turn. Sitting with just our 2-2 quest for 2 and our 1-1 quest for 2. Aggressive questers as our opponent inks a Pocket Watch. So opponent is Steel Amethyst, playing a Prince Eric into play. So we have our Regal Princess there, 2-2. Oh, and we draw a Simba, but the opponent has the perfect counter. The Prince Eric, the character with Challenger 2 that can just take down our aggressive start. I'm tempted to play the 1 jump ahead here. The Simba is not overly useful, so let's start by inking the Simba. Then we want to play the Ariel and see what we can find. We have to take the Let It Go because it's the only song, which is good. Gives us a bit more options. I think I'm going to sing 1 jump ahead. Sing it. 1 more ink into our ink pile, 1 jump ahead being really just that. Pretty good song to have. And now the question is, do we quest with Lilo or not? If we quest with Lilo, the opponent has 2 good targets. I think we quest with Lilo, just because Aurora and Lilo are both big targets for Prince Eric, but he can only challenge 1, and I already exerted Aurora. So if I'm going to lose a good card, might as well lose. Well, I can't prevent our opponent from taking down the good card, so might as well take the 2 lore and give our opponent a bit of an option here. I really like this Ariel Spectacular Singer. 2-3 for 3, Singer 5, which means that we can sing Let It Go next turn and play a 5-drop. And she gave us the Let It Go, which is pretty good. Although our opponent smashes Ariel. Just 3 points of damage. Boom. Smashed. Fortunately, this means that Lilo is now stuck with either questing or taking down Prince Eric. We will quest, forcing Eric to do the challenge and taking the 2 lore in the meantime. We will play a Moana. Oh yeah, we do need to ink something first. This is a pickle. I wish I could ink 1 jump ahead, but I cannot. So I think I'm going to have to ink Let It Go. Opponent doesn't have anything worth removing at this point. And play the Moana. Going for the ink play. The lore play. Just Moana, just 1/6 quest for a lot. Opponent's going to trade Eric for Lilo, putting us quite a ways down on card. But on 6 Lord with a Moana on the battlefield, it's not the worst position. Especially once Jasmine goes in to help with Moana. There's lots of questing and healing that can happen then. Opponent plays a Rafiki and takes down Lilo with the monkey. And our opponent decides to quest with Prince Eric, which is an interesting decision, leaving it vulnerable for Moana to take it out. Maybe we'll take our opponent on that offer. So we can challenge the Eric, or quest, but the Eric attacking us hurts quite a bit. So I'm going to take it out at Moana. Definitely going to be playing that Jasmine, healing back Moana to full health. And we'll pass the turn back to our opponent. Now, what would be terrible for us is if the opponent has a second copy of that Rafiki, the Mad Monkey of Simba's Jungle. Inks a Captain Hook, a lot of power attackers. Rafiki hits Moana, and opponent plays the Queen. Alright. So now things are fun, because we have a Jasmine and a Moana on the battlefield. And whenever Jasmine quests, she gets to heal all our characters. So we get to heal her, then challenge. If I can find Jasmine here. Right there. Shift's not overly relevant in this deck. Alright, so, well, we're gonna quest. We're gonna heal. That's a given. And then Moana has options. She can take out Rafiki or sing to take out the Queen. I think I want to take out the Queen here, because the draw card ability is quite problematic. Sing, take out. And since we have all of our ink remaining, we might as well play Lilo and one jump ahead and pass the turn back. So in the end, the synergy between Jasmine and Moana didn't come into play. But we had options. Just a nice thing about this princess's deck. Healing and healing options, and almost every card quests for 2, which is quite nice. A little bit of card draw. Can always draw into Rapunzel or Ariel and get our hand looking much more alive. Hand's looking a little pathetic right now, with the 0 card that is. But we have a board. And we have 8 ink. Lore. I keep mixing the 2 up. Ink, lore, ink, lore. Folk, lore. Folk, lore. Anyways, that was just for the word pun as we wait for our opponent to make their decision. And see if we get blown out. Or if we get another round of healing on the Queen. Tinkerbell. Okay. Tinkerbell hurts. One of the strongest cards in the deck. He rocks the boat, dealing 1 damage to everything. Which took down our Lilo, unfortunately. So, now we quest with Jasmine. Healing everyone. Take that, Tink. But our opponent has the option of taking Rafiki to Jasmine and then Tinkerbell to Jasmine, dealing 2 to Moana. Or we can do that ourselves by challenging Rafiki with Jasmine. There's not much of an advantage in us doing that. We might as well play Cinderella. There's no real downside to just keeping her in our hand. There's no upside, really. I think we're going to quest with Moana. Restore Jasmine. You know what? Moana quest for 3, 16 plus 2. Keeping Moana alive 1 more turn is going to be helpful. So let's take the challenge, take out Rafiki, force our opponent to take out Jasmine, or spend some kind of removal spell. Opponent challenges our Jasmine, which means that the puny pirate effect takes effect and she gets to ping one of our princesses for 2. Decides to go after Cinderella. Take out Cinderella completely. And has a Maleficent to draw. Ooh, 1 jump ahead is not what I wanted to see. I think I'm going to sit on Moana at this point. Although, yeah, our opponent has 6. There's no real advantage. And what I'm hoping is to draw into a princess that quests for 2. And then I can quest with a princess, quest with Moana, ready to princess. And if the opponent doesn't have a removal spell, then we'll win the game on the following turn. And since we're leading 13-3, we have some time to go with that game plan. And our deck is filled to the brink of such princesses. Also, if we draw a Rapunzel or something strong like a Hades, then we can always just banish that Tink, quest with Moana, and now the opponent can't kill it on the board. So the opponent's hard pressed to have some kind of removal or challenger to take down Moana, and we're still 2 questing away from Hades. It's a question about playing the tempo here and making use of all of that lore that we've gotten with our early questing. 16-5. I love this Infernal Schemer, just such a powerful card. Turns the tide of the battle. We had a very sketchy game plan, and suddenly it looks very difficult to stop. Opponent plays friend, sings friend with the other side. Still 7 ink available. Mickey Mouse challenges Moana. I sense a smash coming. Smash it is. 3 damage to our princess. Captain Hook in the ink. And a queen. We draw a 2-drop Aurora. We'll play her. Quest with Hades. And now we're just keeping our opponent on the brink of defeat, as they need to keep on taking down our characters. And now to take down Hades, our opponent has the challenge with the Queen. And probably Maleficent. And must have a removal spell for Aurora in order to stay alive. Grab your sword. We'll do the trick. Wiping our board. Opponent can quest for 3. Oh, with a broom. I should show the Mickey Mouse. No, actually, I should show the grab your sword. Just dealing 2 damage to all our characters. It was the perfect removal spell. 2 for wanting us. Opponent goes up to 8. We find another Hades. We will banish the Queen, limiting our opponent's options since our opponent can't draw the card this turn. Hades doing its work. And there you have it. If our opponent removes Hades, it's mostly lights out, although we probably get another turn. Just forcing our opponent to have answer after answer. After our moderately explosive start, opponent uses the magic mirror in the last act of desperation. Honestly, just the right move to do if they don't have the answer. And since our Hades is still on the board, I suspect our opponent does not have the answer. Steel Amethyst doesn't have the best tools to deal with a 3-6. Opponent quests 12. Grab your sword and passes a turn back, where we win, questing with Hades, leading the princesses and their charge against the Steel Amethyst decklist. Let's see what we can do with our singing princesses going second. So I have Lilo, Mickey Mouse. I'd really like a Simba to go with this curve. Although we really are playing princesses, not Lilo into ramp. Maybe I should send the Lilo back. No, we're on the draw. Send a few cards back. Keep Develop Your Brain as a turn 2 option if there's nothing else we can do. Let's see what we can get. We do hit the Simba. So we have the Lilo Simba start, which is what we want. And then we're gonna race with our ink. We're gonna ramp. And ramp a lot we shall. So Lilo turn 1 on the draw. Our 2 quester for 1. She kind of looks like a princess, but she's just a storyborn hero. Opponent is playing a Dr. Facilier. Dr. Facilier actually goes up to 2 combat power on the offense. At the release, this charlatan does. We're going to ink Develop Your Brain, play a bodyguarding Simba, and quest for 2. Passing the turn to opponent. Facilier can't take out Simba, and Simba can take out Facilier on the backswing. So that Facilier is not looking great here. But we'll see. Our opponent will presumably have 3 ink at their disposal. Inks a White Rabbit's Pocket Watch. Opponent befuddles our Simba. That's an interesting card. Befuddle sends a character costed 2 or less into my hand. It's a very tempo play. Alright, well, now that Simba has nothing to protect, I guess we're gonna ink it. I don't like Simba at this time anymore, so we're gonna ink it, play a Mickey Mouse, ink a card, and pass the turn to our opponent. Opponent also played Olaf, just a 1/3 vanilla creature, quest for 1, nothing special there. Opponent inks Elsa, Snow Queen. Actually, I'm not sure what that Elsa's actual name is. Snow Queen. I had it. The opponent quests and passes the turn back. That's a pretty feel-bad turn for our opponent. We're on turn 4. We can... I think we're going to ink Develop Our Brain. I would like to have some kind of combat pressure here, although our opponent really doesn't have much combat ability. So I guess we'll just go for the Moana. I don't have a really good quest here with Mickey. I don't want to deal just 1 damage to these 2 critters. So I'll pass the turn back. Opponent is playing a Magic Mirror. I guess I should highlight Moana, because Moana is just awesome. 1/6 allows our princesses to quest and quest again. Alright. What do we do here? Rapunzel is great. We can pick up a card off of Rapunzel. I really want to play one of my 5-drops here, though. I'm not sure. There's nothing that's really mana efficient. Yeah. No, actually, you quest for too much. Mickey's going to challenge it. Oh, I should have challenged the Olaf. That was a somewhat dumb move. Alright. I'm going to play Jasmine. I wanted Mickey to take some damage to then draw a card off of Rapunzel. But I forgot that Facilier is just a 0/4. For some reason I had in mind that he was a 1/4. Challenging Olaf with Moana seems like a waste of that tree lore. So we're going to quest with her. Our opponent doing nothing on turn 3 and playing Magic Mirror on 4 just gave us a huge tempo swing, which is why I'm not a big fan of that card. Now the opponent's playing Catch Up, Dragon Fire, just bam, removal spell. Destroy target creature. Pretty straightforward. That does mean that our opponent is playing Amethyst Ruby, so I need to be prepared for Be Prepared. We can take out an Olaf here and still get a good one value Rapunzel. So Mickey attacks Olaf, Jasmine attacks Olaf, and then we come in here and heal our Jasmine to to draw a card. We have a lot of cards in hand. A lot of cards. I kind of like playing that Ariel. So I'm going to ink Be Our Guest. So our next turn we can go Mickey Ariel, if nothing else. Rapunzel, one of the highlights of the princess decks, or really one of the main reasons to play Amber. Although there are a lot of good reasons to play Amber. Stitch Rockstar, Rapunzel. I do like the Hadesies. No, actually I like the 4-drop Hades. I don't like the 7-drop. 7-drop costs too much. So our opponent has played a big Dr. Facilier here. And honestly, I'm going to have to read the card because I don't really remember what it does. 4/5, whenever one of your other characters is banished in a challenge, you may return that card to your hand. So by itself, it really does nothing. It's taking 2 damage, 5 hit points. I can sacrifice a Mickey to it, ping it with Jasmine, and get a full draw off of Rapunzel. Sign me up. So change of plan. We are drawing 3 cards. And healing our Jasmine. Ooh. Stitch. I like that. I do need some lore. I'm going to quest with Rapunzel. Play 1 jump ahead. Which brings us to 7. Now, do I want to play that Lilo is the question. I don't think I do. Because then I'd have to ink another card, and I don't really want to ink another card with this hand. The hand's just too good. Opponent says they're prepared, but they're not because they're completely out of cards. And now we can go Lilo, Mickey for more ink. Absolutely, put the top card in the ink. And Ariel, draw, let it go. Now our hand is stacked. Really like this Ariel Spectacular Singer, 2, 3 for 3, Singer 5, so she can let it go quite early. Quest for 1. But it's really the fact that you can draw one of these songs, you can ink it unless it's 1 jump ahead, in which case you can sing it, and then you're going to get the ink anyways. Or just to let it go is a pretty solid removal spell. Can't be unhappy about Let It Go. Opponent has a strong play here with Aladdin. But we can cast a Let It Go. We will sing it using Ariel's singer ability because we can. We're going to draw and we're going to play a big Stitch that allows us to draw 2 cards. Doesn't happen overly often, but considering we are somewhat of a ramp deck, it happened now. I don't really need Be Our Guest. I'm going to force our opponent to top deck a Be Prepared, or be prepared to face their demise. So we quest for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 next turn. Bringing our opponent on the brim of annihilation. And the opponent can sure pay 4 to draw a card, but then the opponent can't cast Be Prepared, or an expensive card at that. Dragonfire takes out a big Stitch, which is perfectly fine as we quest and get ready to put the game out of reach for opponent. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our opponent needs to deal with 2 of our characters. So we're just going to play 1 jump ahead. No reason to overextend. At this point, we're just playing around Be Prepared, Maleficent, some kind of ridiculous draw like that our opponent can have. Try to eliminate any ounce of potential comeback our opponent could have. Opponent goes for a Maui, which is insufficient to prevent us from questing for game. And princesses take it 3-0. I hope that you've enjoyed this video featuring awesome gameplay and a fun deck that's quite powerful, featuring the princess archetype. And remember, when playing princesses, you are allowed to play good stuff and not just focus on the archetype. We leverage the high willpower of the princesses with the healing, and we can see our princesses living through a lot of different combats. The sheer willpower, the sheer lore just pushing our archetype aggressively towards the 20 to win the games, and overall just fun games with other powerful cards to support with the early curve, strong late game. So I'd encourage you all to subscribe to my channel if you want to keep the awesomeness going, and don't forget to like the video and leave me a comment telling me which deck you think you'd like me to cover next, or which crazy archetype that you'd like me to cover. I'm really open to anything. I have a large list of ideas on my pen and paper, actually on my phone, but in order to prioritize that, you are the project managers and you get to pick what's next, or I will do it for you. So leave it in the comment and tell me what you want to see next. I hope you've had a great time, and I'll see you next time.